But my guess is that government intel was like, this is too dangerous to leave up over the weekend, shut it down over the weekend, and then...
We know that X and Facebook had backdoors.
Yes.
And it's only because of lawsuits. Why would anyone assume Google, YouTube does not?
Right.
They probably do, but I dare say it's probably just easier. It's that it was just some woke stuff.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I can't claim that it's true. It's my guess if I had to guess.
I'm not arguing. I think that's possible. I reckon that's more possible than it just being the spam filter.
They're both true. Google's probably got a backdoor, same as Facebook and X did. However, I think you're right. It's probably really likely that one woke staffer was sitting there and just clicked a button.
Desperate. They're getting desperate. They realize that.
Well, remember when that employee at Twitter, before it was X, deleted Trump's account?
Yeah.
It's one random person being like, I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be admins putting it in a blacklist. It could be.
And then just being like, I'll claim oopsie daisies and I can't get fired over it.
Spilled my coffee on the keyboard. Whoops.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
Because they overturned it.
There goes Trump.
Because if it was really the intel community, I don't think they would have relisted it right away.
They would have done it after the election, and they would have done, we've done an investigation.
Yeah, they would have said, we don't know what the error is. We're trying to fix it. We're so sorry. There's a glitch in the system, and we'll get it fixed. Then they would ignore it and wait till people forgot about it.
It's still not trending. It should be trending.
It should absolutely be
It should
trending.
be like front page, top and center. It's the greatest political interview of all time.
Likable. He's so likable in that interview. He didn't take a sip of water through 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it was just, you just are like, remember they used to say you had to sit down with your politician for a beer? That's what that is now.
That's why I'm like, when he was talking about boxing and MMA, that's when I was most interested. Because I was like, I've heard all this stuff before. It's interesting. I really did like when Trump was talking about growth versus debt and deficit.
Yep.
And he said, we're going to get the deficit down, the debt down, but we're also going to have tremendous growth. And then if your growth is bigger, is more than your deficit, well, you're under levered. And I was like, this is a really interesting conversation about how you can manage deficit and debt. And then he said, and that was interesting stuff, but I've heard Trump at rallies. I've heard him talk about this. Hearing him talk about great fighters and then Joe butting in and being like, yeah, but remember when this, that's when I was like, this is the sit down for the beer that I wanted to see.
You know what they didn't talk about and that I hope Trump knows about is when they were talking about voter fraud or they were talking about the 2020 election, Trump's like, I believe it was stolen from me. I know it was. And Rogan's like, all right, tell me why. Lay it out for me right now. And Trump didn't. He couldn't. He didn't understand. I don't think he knows about Texas v. Pennsylvania. I don't think he truly understands. Because if he did, he'd be like, here it is, exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Because I completely agree. I hear a lot of people who say it was stolen who can't articulate the legitimate path through, say, Texas v. Pennsylvania. States were changing the rules outside of their legislatures, which violates the Constitution. The question over whether you can receive ballots after Election Day, and now the Fifth Circuit has ruled you can't. So this question is in the air, needs to go to the Supreme Court. All of these things can be brought up. And that's why after the 2020 election, when people are saying Dominion servers and shootouts in Germany and satoites, I'm just like, guys, this is crazy. Okay,
yeah, it was the Pennsylvania governor making that call and changing.
Well, it's complicated, but Trump should be able to articulate this to Joe, saying, "Okay, I can break it down for you in one way. The Keystone State, the most important state. It's true for this election. The state legislature cut a deal with Democrats to remove down ballot voting in exchange for universal mail-in voting. Republicans believed that because Democrats can walk in and click Democrat, it's hurting them in the long run. So they negotiated. Okay, how about this? No more of that down ballot party voting." And we'll give you universal mail-in voting. Republicans thought, hey, we can run with mail-in votes. Mm-hmm. The unfortunate thing for Democrats and Republicans is that the state constitution of Pennsylvania says you cannot do this. It says the Constitution of Pennsylvania literally says absentee ballots are for servicemen and women who are out, not universal.
Yep.
They actually began to prepare for the legal requirements to change this, which includes submitting it to newspapers to get an amendment to the Constitution, stopped, changed the language, and said, let's just do it anyway. There were lawsuits over this. The lower court said, this is correct. Universal mail-in voting violates the Pennsylvania Constitution. The judge, the Supreme Court of the state, ultimately went to the higher court, said, no, it's fine. We'll allow it. Now you have people still arguing that was never allowed and you can't do that. Texas sued, saying if Pennsylvania is in violation of its own constitution and it's basically cheating to shift its vote, which affects how we are going to be partaking in this federal election. And the cowards in the Supreme Court said, we're not going to listen. Trump could have just outright said, in numerous states, The legislatures who had control were subverted by judges and governors to change the election rules in ways the Constitution does not allow. When the lawsuits were filed, the Supreme Court refused to hear it, local courts refused to hear it, and they were dismissed on standing. That's what the Supreme Court basically argued. All of these court cases, the majority of them, and most of them were not filed by Trump himself. The ones that Trump filed, he actually won most of them, but they argued these amount of votes won't change the election. And in many instances, they said, you as a voter who's noticed something strange here don't have standing to sue, meaning you're not party to this complaint, which is insane. Anyone in this country is party to what's going on with these election systems. But I agree, Trump should be able to articulate that.
I almost messaged you immediately while I was watching. I was like, I think we need to teach him about Trump.
You're not gonna
Texas beef Pennsylvania.
You're not gonna.
I'm not
But
particularly.
He goes on a show like Joe Rogan's podcast, and with Joe's like, okay, tell the world. The world is listening.
Yeah,
And
I
he
mean, that's a game changer if he does that.
I don't.
It's a game
I'm not 100% sure about that. And it's not that anyone's wrong on the points. It's just that Donald Trump doesn't communicate like that. Like, he never gets really specific when he's talking about anything.
He would have said it like Tim, but more like, and this thing with the other thing, and that one's great. And he would have said great a whole bunch of times, but he could have gotten the gist.
Could have went,
yeah.
Joe, there's a lot of cases we didn't get through, but the simple thing is judges and governors changing the rules violates the Constitution.
There you go.
And that's what we were suing for in numerous states, and they would not hear the cases. And then Joe could have been like what's an example of this? The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania saying that even though the Constitution bans mail-in voting, they allowed it to happen. Okay,
and then he would have gone, Jamie, bring that up, and then they would have brought it
right.
up, and then all right.
Yep.
You take that back. I think the other thing that he could have done was talked about his personal relationships a little bit, and talk about, you don't want to air dirty laundry, but you bring up, hey, how's everything with you and your wife? I think that humanizes him even more to people that are quote unquote undecided.
I love that at the end of the interview, it was like 3 hours, and Trump's like, he's in the middle of talking. He's like, I gotta go. I got this rally, and he's like, let's do it again. Yeah, see you. Peace.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.